Want a live interview with Viral Hip Hop News? Email me, Sam Ant, at dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Let's go.
It's power. It's power. Look what Diddy's going through now with it, man. But
Okay.
so we were talking about if Diddy were to get off of this case, would there be any ramification on his side towards the people that kind of spearheaded this witch hunt, so to speak, as far as social media's perspective or is concerned? Because it also seems like the public, like you said, the public outcry on social media had a huge influence on this whole situation happening. And there are some key names at the head of that, and we won't mention their names now. But do you think that Diddy will go ahead and legally look for some type of damages or defamation like we see other celebrities starting to do?
I think if he beats this, he's going to want to put this behind him. I don't think he's going to want to drag this out, revisit it, have to deal with another lawsuit that deals with this. Because people don't really understand. When you file a lawsuit, that is a huge endeavor, right? Because then there's discovery and you've got to start turning over shit. And then you got to start receiving stuff and you got to review stuff. It's not just something you just do willy-nilly because you're angry. You know what I mean? So I don't really think he's going to do that. I know he's petty, but hopefully he's learned some things right throughout this process, and sometimes it's best to leave well enough alone. So let's think about this also. I don't think anything would change in terms of what he can do in the industry. I think he can just go right back to being who the fuck he was, because he was the same person before this fucking trial. Everybody knew he was doing this shit. People knew. We may not have known the extent of it, right? But people knew that he was engaging in these types of, people knew about the Diddy parties, people knew about, the violence, and turned a blind eye to it and a deaf ear. You're not going to care now. They could pretend to care while this trial is happening, but they don't really care. They don't. And memories, everybody suffers from the great forgetting, right? 6 months after this trial, anybody going to even think about this shit.
Yeah. That's the truth, unfortunately.
It'll be somebody else on trial. We'll be talking about Tory Lanez again, right? It'll be some other.
Speaking of,
I think his lawyers just need to stop robbing this man. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm throwing it out here. In my opinion, I think they need to get your hands out his pocket. That's what I say. Stop it. Stop. Just stop. Do your time. Get you some good earned merit time so you can get out early. Do whatever you got to do. Find your program, whatever you to try to get you out early. But these press conferences that you're having about witnesses who did not come show up for you at trial while you sat silent, and now you want to say that the woman who was testifying in your trial against you is the person you were protecting this whole time. Come on, man. What?
Yeah. Too little, too late.
Don't even have the ring of truth. You want to talk about paying people? Who's to say you didn't pay this guy to say that, to say what he's saying? And that's why it won't fly. There's no independent verification other than him saying it. And that's not enough.
The gunpowder thing, how big is that really? Because do they usually test that right after, or you can have opportunity to wipe it, wash it off, or throw the clothes away? So the fact that there was no gunpowder residue on him, is that big of a deal or no?
So gunpowder residue can be dispersed in a number of different directions. It depends on a lot of different factors. Depends on the type of weapon. Depends on what the night was like. Was it windy? Was it anything like that? I don't know whether or not that is going to be the thing that says, no, you did not fire. So the evidence of the absence of a thing, right, is not going to say you can't prove a negative, right? You can't prove something didn't happen, right? So we use to prove it happened, but we cannot use it to prove it didn't happen. I know that that's hard to accept, but that's the logic, right? So if it was there, we could establish that you did fire the gun. But the fact that it's not there does not mean you did not fire the gun. It just means that we don't have the same type of evidence, right? It's a factor I would definitely exploit as a defense attorney at trial, right? I would exploit the fuck out of that. I would make a big deal as the fact that if anybody else that was around, did they get tested for gunpowder residue, right? I think his defense dropped the ball on this case. I said it all along. All along, unfortunately, we are traumatized people, and we keep putting our faith and our trust and our money into these attorneys that don't look like us and that can't tell our stories. They can't tell our stories, right? And they come in and they have these grandiose notions of the defense that they're going to craft, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. They should never have gotten in front of the evidence in this case. And that was the biggest mistake the defense made. When you are a criminal defendant, you have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove. And they should have let the case come to them. But instead, they tried to get in front of it. And I think that was their biggest mistake.
Just off topic real quick, but as far as attorney and lawyers, how much of it, as far as schooling, is like a psychological learning and outside of the book learning? Like, how much of it is like learning the psyche of a person and the psyche and the mindset of people? Like, how much is that come into the learning of becoming a lawyer?
It's a huge part. And you know, you're not going to learn that in law school, right? So I'm a law school professor, right? I teach law school.
Yeah.
There are some things that come from life experience and things that you learn experientially, meaning that you only learn by doing them, right? And so you get to learn to read people by being around people, by engaging people, by doing this work. And that's not something that can be taught. You have to get in there and get in the grind and get that experience. And that's another thing that, you know, there are a lot of lawyers talking about this case. Half of them may never try the case in federal court. Right? I would love for someone to start off with that question. Have you ever tried a federal case? Oh no? Okay, shut the fuck up. But we're not getting that, right? We just get a lot of talking heads. And because it is rare in because of the federal government's conviction rate, a lot of people don't go to trial. Right? Think about that. A lot of people don't go to trial. So a lot of lawyers do not have federal trial experience. I'm not one of them. I have extensive federal trial experience in both the Southern District, the Eastern District. I've even tried cases in Utica, in the Western District, in Connecticut federal court. So I'm one of the rare ones that actually has this experience. And it's very different than state court. It's very different.
That's why we love having you here.
Yeah, I was definitely. I was going to ask you that because I listened to this one podcast, and the guy who was in jail for a long time. So he talks about, the differences of the courts or whatever the case may be. And he says sometimes
more than most lawyers.
Yeah, he knows a lot. He was just saying like they don't even respect state lawyers in the Fed. Is that true?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
100%. Because listen, when you walk into the federal building, it's like you in court for real. I feel like I'm a grown up and I'm in big girl court now. Like, oh, they actually gonna listen to me cite a case, right? Because it's more formal. The judges are there for life, right? So they are not beholden to anyone. It's apolitical, right? And so your odds of getting a astute judge who is going to listen to you and decide the case on the law, right, is far greater than if you walk into state court where you might find some former ADA judge who is like, yeah, they're going to be a second prosecutor in the case, right? So absolutely, I agree with him 1,000%. Yeah, you bring your A game when you go to federal court. You don't walk in there half cocked, because you will be embarrassed. You will be embarrassed. The judges do not play.
And it seems like they're more thorough. Like the at least the prosecution is way more thorough. It's even intimidating. We went to a trial, ARAB's trial, and I thought I wasn't leaving the building. And I wasn't even on trial. It's intimidating.
It is. It's very intimidating. And this judge is not playing any games. These judges, the federal judges, they are so on it. I don't know if you remember back when they were doing the bail applications, and I think Diddy should be out. He would be out if he had I don't want to disparage anyone, but if they would have done a better bail package out the box, right? I think he would have been out, because I think this judge was really poised to give him bail, but I think the lawyers flubbed it. right? Because they made some representations that were not accurate, and they got called to the carpet on it. The judge was like, "You said that material was legal material, and you said it said legal material on it, and I have a picture of it. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that." Because they were arguing that certain documents that had been taken from Diddy's cell were protected material, right? Where the prosecution was saying that material is witness tampering, right? And so the lawyers were like, that's work product, right? That's protected because that's what he's using to help us with our trial. That was legal information. And the judge was like, no, it wasn't. It didn't say that, right? And so you lose credibility with the court. Now I'm not letting your client out. I don't trust shit you say. I don't trust you. I don't, because when the court is taking a gamble and letting someone out who might be a threat to the public, who has the potential to be a threat to the public, they really are listening to what the court, you're an officer of the court. You have a duty of candor. That means you have to be honest, right? And so the court is taking you at your word in what you say. And if they find that you said something that is not true, they are not going to listen to you later when you say, you know what, he's going to be, there's going to be a security outside and he's going to be monitored. And the court is like, yeah, no, denied. They did. I think they did that to themselves.
Right.